Have you ever asked yourself, what is truly invincible in a world full of hatred and injustice? Is it the power of money, or the authority held by those with soldiers and weapons, or perhaps cunning, the calculations made simply to survive? The world around us, from ancient times until today, has never been without darkness. It is filled with insults, with cruel actions, with injustices glaring before our very eyes. A single venomous word can ruin an entire day. A betrayal can strip away the trust we spent years building. An unexpected upheaval can make everything we hold in our hands vanish in an instant. In the face of such storms, most of us feel fragile, weak, as if anything could be taken away at any moment. And yet, Marcus Aurelius left us a timeless reminder in Meditations 11:18. Kindness is invincible, but only when it's sincere. He wanted us to understand that there are qualities within the human spirit which, if nurtured and safeguarded, no force in the world can ever defeat. This may sound paradoxical. How can kindness overcome cruelty? How can humility stand firm against power? How can calmness endure amid chaos? And yet, history and philosophy have proven that these very values, seemingly fragile, are in fact the most unshakable foundation for a resilient life. On this journey, we will together explore the top 7 invincible virtues in a world full of hatred and injustice. The core values distilled from the spirit of Stoicism, from the reflections of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and many other great souls who not only survived, but even shone brightly in the darkness of history. And the question for you is this: among these 7 invincible virtues, which will you choose as your spiritual weapon to protect yourself against the storms of life? Principle 1. Sincere kindness. In a world where hatred and anger constantly erupt, kindness is often seen as weakness. People tend to believe that if we are kind, we will be taken advantage of. If we yield, we will be oppressed. And if we forgive, we will become losers. Yet Marcus Aurelius said, "Kindness is invincible, but only when it's sincere." Why is it invincible? Because the wicked may take away our possessions, our reputation, even our body, but they cannot take away the kindness within us. Every time we choose to respond to hatred with kindness, we leave hatred's arrows nowhere to land. Others may pour bitterness onto us, but they cannot force us to become like them. Imagine this. Someone insults you in front of a crowd, waiting for you to explode so that an argument can ignite. But instead of replying with venom, you smile and answer with gentle words. What happens then? The other person is thrown off, the crowd is surprised, and you yourself feel free because you have not handed over control of your emotions to anyone. That is the power of sincere kindness. History has witnessed this power many times. Martin Luther King Jr., when attacked right on stage, did not strike back. He lowered his arms, accepted the blows, and then asked the crowd not to harm his attacker. He even took the time to calmly speak with the very man who had assaulted him. That gesture not only stunned the entire hall, but it also engraved the message: sincere kindness is stronger than any punch. This power does not come from luck, but from training. Those in the American civil rights movement did not instantly become saints just by hearing the call to nonviolence. They were trained repeatedly, practicing how to remain calm when insulted, how to smile when beaten. Like warriors preparing for battle, they trained to ensure their kindness would not collapse under violence. This is completely aligned with the Stoic spirit. The Stoics never denied that life is cruel. They simply taught us, you cannot control others, but you can always control your own response. When we preserve sincere kindness, we preserve our full autonomy. And that autonomy is the true invincible strength. In everyday life, you and I also have countless opportunities to practice. When someone cuts you off on the road, you can choose anger or you can choose to yield. When a colleague makes a sarcastic remark, you can retaliate or you can choose calm silence. When betrayed, you can choose to nurture hatred or you can choose to free yourself through forgiveness. Kindness does not change the world overnight, but it always changes us, making us stronger and freer. One crucial point must be emphasized: kindness is invincible only when it is sincere. If we are kind to earn praise, to be seen as a good person, then that is not real strength. Because the moment no one acknowledges it, such kindness will disappear. But if we are kind because it is the choice of our soul, then even when no one sees, it still exists, still shines. Therefore, when you encounter hatred, try doing the opposite of instinct. Instead of retaliating, choose a kind action, a gentle word. You will find that not only does the other person change, but you yourself are freed from the weight of anger. In a world full of injustice, sincere kindness is not only invincible, it is also what makes human beings most beautiful. And when we choose to keep it, we choose the path of freedom. Freedom from hatred, from bitterness, from the manipulation of others. Principle 2. Integrity. In a world full of lies, betrayal, and injustice, perhaps the easiest thing to lose is integrity. People may sell their conscience for profit. They may betray friends for the sake of power. They may remain silent in the face of wrongdoing for the sake of safety. And little by little, integrity, the very thing that defines a person's character, erodes bit by bit. But Stoic philosophy reminds us, the best revenge is not to be like them. This is one of Marcus Aurelius's most famous sayings. It holds a simple yet powerful truth. Others may betray you, deceive you, or trample on you, but they cannot make you a traitor, a liar, or an unjust person unless you yourself choose to become one. Integrity, therefore, becomes the invincible shield of character. It cannot be stolen, cannot be crushed by violence or hatred. It is lost only when you willingly cast it away. Picture this situation. You work hard, but a colleague uses trickery to take the credit. Your first instinct is anger, the desire to give them a taste of their own medicine. But by doing so, you make yourself into the same kind of person. The Stoic would choose a different path. They keep calm, ensure their actions are not tainted by hatred, and allow time to reveal the truth. For they understand that integrity does not need to shout to be recognized. It shines through actions, sooner or later. History has witnessed countless individuals who preserved integrity even under the harshest conditions. Some, when imprisoned and tortured, never betrayed their friends. Some leaders, holding power in their hands, still chose humility, refusing to let themselves be corrupted. This was not foolishness, but firmness. They understood, power and profit may fade, but once integrity is lost, nothing can restore it. The Stoics regarded integrity as the foundation of virtue. Seneca once wrote, "The happy person is the one who lives in accordance with their nature, not dragged along by the crowd, not seduced by desire, and not shaken by fear." In other words, integrity is living true to your core values, regardless of what the outside world may be. In daily life, integrity is often tested in small things. When we witness wrongdoing, do we stay silent to avoid trouble? When we have a chance to gain unfair profit, do we tell ourselves, just this once? When we are slandered, do we retaliate by inventing lies of our own? Each moment is a test. And every time we uphold integrity, we not only protect our honor, but we also strengthen our inner power. The important truth is this: integrity does not require an audience. It does not exist for praise, but to help us live in peace with ourselves. Others may not see it, may not acknowledge it, may even mock it. But when night falls, when it is only us and our conscience, integrity becomes the mirror that shows whether we are truly strong. Remember, someone else's betrayal does not make you a betrayer. Someone else's lies do not make you a liar. Someone else's injustice does not strip you of your dignity. These can only happen when you yourself let go of your integrity. And that is why integrity is invincible, because it is not in the hands of others, but only in yours. In a world full of hatred and injustice, integrity is like a lamp. It may not drive away all the darkness, but it is enough to light your own steps and perhaps to guide those walking beside you. And when each of us keeps such a lamp alive, the world becomes a little less dark. Principle 3. The acceptance of impermanence. Amor Fati. There is a truth we all know but rarely wish to face. Everything is impermanent. Life guarantees nothing to anyone. Loved ones can leave us at any moment. A career can collapse after a single event. Health can change in the blink of an eye. And we ourselves cannot escape the cycle of birth, aging, sickness, and death. Yet most people live as if everything were permanent. We build dreams, plans, and ambitions on what we assume to be solid ground. But a single gust of wind can shatter it all. And when that happens, we often collapse, complain, and curse fate. The Stoics chose a different perspective. They not only accepted impermanence, they loved it. This concept is called Amor Fati, the love of fate. It means that instead of wishing everything would unfold according to our desires, we embrace whatever happens, pain or joy, because all of it is an essential part of life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not hope that things will happen as you wish, but wish them to happen just as they do. Then your life will flow well." This is not a call to resignation, but a form of liberation. For only when we stop resisting reality can we use our full strength to live completely in each moment. Think back to a time when you lost something important, a job, a relationship, a dream. The first feeling was pain, emptiness, the desperate wish to turn back time and hold on. But years later, looking back, you may realize that loss opened a new path, taught a profound lesson, or gave you a strength you never had before. That is the beauty of impermanence. It takes away, but it also gives. And only through acceptance can we see the hidden gift within. Seneca once advised his students to practice simplicity, to sometimes sleep on a hard floor, to eat meager meals so that they might ask themselves, "Is this what I once feared? Is this what I once avoided?" Through such training, he sought to prove that much of our fear of loss is mere illusion. When we learn to face the worst, we discover that we can still live, still stand strong, and then fear no longer imprisons us. Amor Fati is the same. It teaches us not only to endure adversity, but to love it, because adversity is an indispensable piece of life's great mosaic. Imagine life as a piece of music. If it contained only high notes, it would be noisy. If only low notes, it would be mournful. But together they create a complete melody. Impermanence is that harmony. In reality, accepting impermanence is never easy. When a loved one dies, we all grieve. When failure comes, we all despair. But what makes the Stoic different is that they transform pain into a reminder. Cherish what remains, here and now. Knowing that everything can be lost, we love more deeply, live more fully, and waste less time on what is meaningless. Acceptance of impermanence does not make us indifferent. On the contrary, it makes us live more passionately. For we know that this moment is unique. Today's embrace may be the last. Today's words may be the last. And so we choose to be kinder, more patient, more loving. Amor, Fati, the love of fate, is an invincible strength because it prevents us from being victims of circumstance. Instead of being crushed by loss, we use loss to grow. Instead of letting suffering kill our faith, we use suffering to deepen our understanding and compassion. When we learn to love even the hardest things, then nothing in the world can bring us down. In a world full of hatred and injustice, the acceptance of impermanence allows us to see beyond every upheaval. It teaches us what comes will come, what goes will go, and our task is not to cling, but to live well in the present moment. And in that way, we become invincible. Principle 4. The power of self-mastery. There is a famous saying in Stoic philosophy: no one can make you angry unless you grant them the power to do so. At first glance, it seems simple, but upon reflection, it reveals a foundational truth. What is invincible in this world is not circumstances, nor other people, but our self-mastery, the ability to control our reactions and actions. In daily life, there are countless moments when we lose this mastery. A single harsh word from someone can make us explode. A contemptuous look can ruin an entire afternoon. An insult on social media can make us so furious that we cannot sleep. In those moments, we have handed control of our emotions over to others. They press a button and we erupt. They drop a word and we stumble. The Stoics teach us, never give that power away. Our emotions and reactions are ours, within our hands, and no one can force us to feel anger, fear, or despair unless we ourselves allow it. Imagine you are driving during rush hour and someone rudely cuts you off. You have two choices: lose your temper, honk, yell, and carry that frustration home, or take a deep breath, smile, and keep driving, preserving your peace of mind. The event is the same, but the response is entirely different, and therein lies the invincible strength of self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space is our power and our freedom." His words remind us that in any situation, we always have a small window to choose our response. Most people ignore that moment, reacting by instinct. The Stoic seeks to remain the master of themselves. History provides shining examples of this power. Nelson Mandela, after nearly 30 years in prison, walked free not with hatred, but with calm and forgiveness. Had he allowed rage to control him, South Africa might have descended into civil war. But through self-mastery, Mandela not only liberated himself, he liberated a nation. Self-mastery is like a muscle. The more we train it, the stronger it becomes. The Stoics often advise us to start with the smallest things. When insulted, practice silence instead of immediate retaliation. When tempted, practice saying no to short-term desires to preserve long-term values. When faced with failure, practice observing your emotions rather than letting them consume you. Each time we do this, we strengthen this invincible power. It is important to note, self-mastery is not suppression. The Stoics never said we should pretend not to feel anger or sadness. They teach us to recognize our emotions and then choose our response consciously. We may feel anger, but we need not shout. We may feel fear, but we need not run. We may feel sorrow, but we need not drown in despair. When we choose our response, we have already triumphed. In a world filled with hatred and injustice, self-mastery is the strongest fortress. Others may try to provoke us, but if we remain calm, they cannot touch our souls. The world may shift and shake, but if we master our reactions, we will not be swept away. Ask yourself, when was the last time you lost your temper, shouted, and regretted it afterward? Probably not long ago. And when was the last time you held your calm, chose silence, and felt yourself grow stronger? That memory may still linger. That is the difference between someone ruled by circumstances and someone who rules themselves. The power of self-mastery is invincible because it depends on no one else, lies in no outside force. It belongs solely to you, and only you can decide how to wield it. So whenever you face provocation, remember this: you cannot control the words or actions of others, but you can always control your own response. And in that very moment, you will discover true freedom, the kind of freedom no one can ever take away. Principle 5. Humility and simplicity. In a world that glorifies extravagance, where people are judged by titles, wealth, and status, humility and simplicity are often undervalued. Modern life easily sweeps people into the race of showing off, chasing the spotlight, and craving admiration. And in doing so, many become slaves to fame and possessions. Stoic philosophy, however, points us to another path. Humility and simplicity are the invincible foundations of a strong soul. For when we are no longer obsessed with power or riches, nothing external can shake us. Marcus Aurelius, though the ruler of an empire, often reminded himself in meditations, "Do not become an emperor in the worst sense of the word." He knew well that the throne could breed arrogance, drive one into ambition, and make one see oneself as the center of the universe. That is why he wrote daily to tether himself to humility and simplicity. This habit prevented him from falling victim to power and instead made him an example of virtuous leadership. The Stoics believed that wealth, power, and praise are all externals, things outside our control and not what truly define our worth. One day, they can all vanish, and if we anchor our character to them, then when they disappear, we collapse with them. On the other hand, if we hold fast to humility and live simply, we remain whole no matter how the world around us changes. Seneca once said, "A rich person does not have much, but one who needs little." This reminds us that true wealth is not measured by possessions, but by the ability to be content with enough. When we need little, we are less tempted. When we live simply, we are harder to defeat. And when we remain humble, power cannot distort us. Look around in everyday life. Perhaps you've met people who live simply yet radiate peace. They do not chase fame, flaunt possessions, or need applause. They may wear ordinary clothes, live in modest homes, yet their gaze is calm, their smile natural, their spirit steady. That is the strength of simplicity. It is like an ancient tree. It does not loudly display its leaves, but its roots sink deep, making it unshakable by storms. By contrast, those who chase admiration are easily consumed by fear of losing it. With wealth, they fear poverty. With power, they fear loss of power. With the spotlight, they fear the shadows. And this fear makes them fragile, more vulnerable than ever. The Stoics remind us, practice being content with less. Practice not letting your heart swell with endless desire. Hold on to humility. Even when you have much, then you will find yourself freer, lighter, and more steadfast. You can begin with small steps. Instead of indulging in endless shopping, try living a day with only what you truly need. Instead of posting every achievement for praise, try keeping it to yourself. Instead of letting success become arrogance, remember that time can take everything away in an instant. Humility and simplicity are not poverty, they are richness of the soul. They help us give thanks for what we have rather than chase what we lack. They keep us steady, not swept away by life's turbulence. And most importantly, they make us invincible against temptations that can corrupt a person. In a world full of hatred and injustice, where people flaunt to prove their worth, humility and simplicity are like a gentle reminder. True value lies not in what we display, but in what we preserve within. And when we hold on to these two qualities, we possess an invincible strength, a strength that keeps us standing firm, no matter how the world outside may change. Principle 6. Courage in the face of fear. Of all the emotions that can bind a human being, fear is the most powerful invisible chain. It has no physical form, no weapon, yet it can imprison the soul and rob us of freedom even before anything has actually happened. We all know this feeling. Fear of failure stops us from beginning. Fear of loss prevents us from loving fully. Fear of sickness, aging, and death makes us live in anxiety instead of enjoying the present. There are even nameless fears, lingering in the mind, enough to keep us restless at night and weary in the morning. And so, many people live their whole lives trapped in a cage of their own making. The Stoics understood the true nature of fear. They did not deny it, nor did they try to escape it. They chose to confront it directly. Seneca advised his students to practice voluntary discomfort, deliberately placing themselves in hardship, to realize that what they feared was not so terrifying after all. He ate meager meals, slept on cold floors, and asked, "Is this what I once trembled before?" Once we have lived through poverty or discomfort, we realize fear was largely an exaggeration of the mind. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "Love your fate." When we learn to embrace even what we do not desire, we stop being haunted by fear. For whatever comes, we are already prepared to accept it. And then, the world loses its power to threaten us. Imagine a warrior going into battle. The ordinary soldier trembles at the thought of death, but a Stoic would tell himself, "Death is natural. If it comes today, I will accept it. If not, I will live and fight with all my strength." This preparation frees him from paralysis by fear, allowing him to act with clarity. In everyday life, we too can train this courage. Start small, step outside your comfort zone, face rejection, accept risks rather than avoid them. Each time we confront fear, its chains grow weaker. And gradually, we discover that fear was never as large as we imagined. It is crucial to understand, courage does not mean the absence of fear. Courage means feeling fear, but choosing the right action instead of letting fear control us. A soldier on the battlefield trembles like anyone else, yet still steps forward. A mother, anxious for her child, still chooses to protect at all costs. That is courage, and that is invincible strength. Fear often arises from trying to control what lies beyond our reach. We fear illness, yet no one can fully command their health. We fear loss, yet no one can hold on to what they love forever. The Stoics remind us, distinguish clearly between what is within our control and what is not. When we focus on what we can do, keeping the mind steady, training the body, acting with integrity, we gradually free ourselves from fear's grip. In a world of hatred and injustice, fear is often the weapon of the powerful against the weak. But if we learn to stand firm before fear, we not only preserve our freedom but also inspire others. Remember, Martin Luther King Jr. faced countless threats to his life, yet he still took the podium, still marched with the people. Had he surrendered to fear, history would have been different. You and I may not face dangers as grave as his, but each day we face smaller battles, daring to speak the truth instead of remaining silent, daring to begin a new journey instead of staying still, daring to love instead of hiding for fear of pain. Every courageous choice, however small, breaks one more chain. Courage in the face of fear is invincible, for it liberates us from our greatest enemy, our own mind. Once fear no longer manipulates us, no one can force us to bow. And in that moment, we are truly free, a deep freedom that rises above hatred and injustice alike. Principle 7. Serenity in chaos. The world has never been peaceful. Just as we begin to savor a quiet day, new turmoil arrives. It may be a crisis, a spreading epidemic, a distant war, or simply disorder in our work and family life. Chaos is an inevitable part of existence, and the final invincible strength that Stoic philosophy offers us is serenity in chaos. Marcus Aurelius lived in an age when the Roman Empire was shaken constantly by wars and plague. The Antonine Plague claimed millions of lives, while uprisings erupted along the northern frontiers. Any other leader might have collapsed under such a weight. Yet instead of being swept away, Marcus sat down to write meditations page after page of words that served as quiet reminders to steady his mind. Amidst war and pestilence, he still found serenity. The Stoics believed, the chaos outside is unavoidable, but the chaos within is ours to govern. They drew a clear line: what is within our control and what is not. We cannot stop the storm from coming, but we can keep our minds from storming. We cannot prevent betrayal, but we can preserve our virtue. We cannot drive away disease, but we can choose calmness over panic. Serenity in chaos does not mean indifference. It is not coldness or numbness to suffering. On the contrary, it is a profound awareness so that we still act, still help, still shoulder responsibility, but without letting fear or anger take command. This serenity grants the clarity needed to guide ourselves and others through the storm. Picture two people entering a burning room. One panics, runs about, screams, adding to the confusion. The other breathes deeply, calmly seeks an exit, and guides others outside. Who is truly strong? Clearly, not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who remains serene. In daily life, chaos appears everywhere. A heated argument at home, an unexpected crisis at work, or simply a flood of negative news online. In such moments, serenity becomes an anchor that prevents us from being swept away. It gives us space to think, to respond rightly rather than react by instinct. The Stoics cultivated serenity through daily practices. They wrote journals to examine their minds, sat in silence to observe their emotions, and repeated to themselves, "This too shall pass." Through such repetition, serenity became a habit, a reflex, and when real upheaval came, they no longer panicked. They walked forward calmly. You and I can begin with small steps. When hearing bad news, instead of rushing to spread alarm, pause, breathe, and consider what is truly within our control. When faced with a day full of disorder, instead of letting tension spread, remind yourself, this is part of life. I can choose serenity. Each time we do so, we forge another layer of armor, preparing for greater storms. Serenity in chaos is invincible because it requires no external condition to exist. It comes from within. A person may lose everything, money, status, security, but if they keep serenity, they still hold freedom and strength. Conversely, a person may have everything, yet if their inner world is chaotic, they are already defeated from within. In a world full of hatred and injustice, serenity is like a lantern in the night. It does not erase the darkness, but it shines enough to light the path. And many such lanterns together create a sea of light, helping the world become less chaotic. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not wish for a life without turmoil. Wish instead for a soul unshaken by turmoil." This is the essence of serenity in chaos. None of us can control the flow of the world, but all of us can learn to control ourselves. And when we do, no storm can bring us down. Conclusion: the essence of the top 7 invincible virtues. We have walked a long journey together, exploring the 7 invincible virtues in a world full of hatred and injustice. From sincere kindness, integrity, acceptance of impermanence, the power of self-mastery, humility and simplicity, courage in the face of fear, into serenity in chaos. Each of these is not some distant ideal, but a value that can be applied directly in the daily lives of you and me. If you look closely, you will see the common thread among all 7. They are not found out there, but within us. The world may change, people may betray us, circumstances may collapse, but these inequalities, if nurtured, cannot be taken away. And that is the profound meaning of being invincible. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He did not promise that life would become easy. He pointed us to the path of enduring hardship without losing our dignity, of living in a world full of injustice without being deformed by it. Consider this: if tomorrow you lost something important, how would you respond? If someone hurt you, would you choose revenge or hold on to virtue? If fear surrounded you, would you let it bind you, or would you step forward with courage? And when chaos breaks out, would you panic or preserve the serenity of mind? Each of these choices is an answer to the question, what is invincible within me? The 7 reminders of Stoicism are not merely guides for survival, but keys to freedom. Freedom from hatred, from desire, from fear, from the manipulations of the outside world. It is a freedom that comes from within, and only we ourselves can hold it. So, choose at least one of these 7 virtues and begin to practice it today. Perhaps it is maintaining a kind act even when treated unfairly. Perhaps it is keeping integrity even when no one sees. Perhaps it is practicing acceptance of impermanence, grateful for every fleeting moment. Or perhaps it is simply one calm breath in the middle of chaos. Each small step gradually builds great strength, and that strength will transform you into someone no storm can easily bring down, an invincible soul amidst the tempests of life. If you feel that this journey has given you a new perspective, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Among the 7 invincible virtues, which one resonates with you most? Let us exchange ideas, for perhaps your answer will inspire someone else in need. And if you wish to continue walking this path of serenity, wisdom, and inner strength through Stoic philosophy, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Every small action you take helps this community grow stronger. Together, we will keep the flame of these invincible values alive. Remember, the world outside may be full of hatred and injustice, but how you respond determines everything. And when you hold on to these invincible virtues within, you carry the greatest weapon of all to live a life of freedom, peace, and meaning.